Dr. Boyce Watkins from AOL Black Voices. Thank you for checking us out. I'm also at yourblackworld.com. One of the things that I believe in strongly, which you may know if you've seen anything that I've done before, is the importance of economic empowerment for all of us in terms of not just what we teach ourselves, but also in terms of what we teach our children. And as I always say, don't go out and just teach your kids how to get a job. Teach them how to create a job. So the person that I brought in to talk about this is my brother Zachary Rincon. You run a blog. The blog is itspayday.blog.com.
Yes.
ITSPAYDAY blog.com.
Yes.
And you do a lot of really interesting interviews on your site with you've mentioned people like Russell Simmons and Tavis Smiley and others, and myself as well. I've been a guest on your blog as well, and you talk a lot about economic issues and economic empowerment. Tell us more about that blog and the work that you do.
Well, basically, the It's Payday blog is a blog and terrestrial radio show that appears on 90.5 in Tallahassee, Florida. And it's a weekly vignette, and we just seek to empower people economically. We're committed to helping people save, grow, and get money. And so we try to provide information and produce content that helps people build wealth, but also attack issues as far as professionally, personally, and other things that contribute to building wealth.
You seem pretty young. So you're either a young man or you're an old man who looks really young. Either way, you're lucky. So how old are you?
I'm 28 years old, actually.
28. Okay,
yes,
okay. That is young. That is young.
Okay.
It's old enough to have some experience, but young enough to have a lot of youthful energy and things like that. So, what are some of the things that you've seen in terms of some of the mistakes that young people might make when it comes to learning about money and managing money, especially in Black America?
Well, the reason I created this show primarily was because out of my curiosity and my desire to do more and do better economically. And one of the biggest mistakes I think that we tend to make is just that we don't have the information, and a lot of times we don't feel empowered to do it. You have to have a plan, you have to have a goal, and you have to set yourself up to achieve those goals and really, remember them, and give yourself incentives to do it. For instance, if you know you want to save $2,500 this year, I can't go out to the club, and you have to remind yourself, I'm not going out to the club because I have to save $2,500 this year, or I can't go on that road trip because I'm saving $2,500 this year. So it's very important to have a goal. And also, you have to have a cushion for when times get tight. You have to have a backup for when things act up, and they always do. There are studies that say the average American goes through 12 emergencies in a year. So most of the things that keep African Americans out of economic prosperity is that we can't deal with the emergencies that happen. We tend to fall in situations where we have to go to credit lenders, or we have to go to high interest credit cards, or we're just borrowing money at high interest rates that continue to keep us behind. So we can't get ahead because we can't deal with the emergencies.
Well, one of the things I noticed when we had this recent economic crisis is that you saw that the Black community was affected worse than almost anybody else during the crisis. Our unemployment rate is nearly double that of white Americans. Black male unemployment is the highest of any other group. And last time I checked, I want to say that it was about 19 to 20%. So you have high unemployment, which means that we're more likely to lose the job that we have. And then you double that effect when you don't have wealth, which we know that Black wealth is far lower than white wealth in America. It depends on what study you look at, but Black family wealth has been, I've seen cited as low as 1/100th of white family wealth. So not only are you likely to lose your source of income, but you're also in a position where you don't even have savings to protect you when you've lost that source of income. So, what do you think are things that people have that you've seen that from maybe people you've interviewed or your own life or whatever the case may be, that can kind of help people prepare for that possibility?
Well, first of all, you have to know the game that you're playing, and that's why I support your show and a lot of things that you're doing, because you take a holistic approach to the things that contribute to wealth building. One of the biggest things we in the African American have to do is build stronger families, because the corporate America and American society at large doesn't value us. African Americans can have the same educational background, the same economic background, but they're still punitive reprisals that take place just because you're black. You may work the same job and not get the same pay. You may go to the bank and try to get a mortgage, and the mortgage is going to be more expensive than your white counterparts with those same economic credentials. So a lot of times we try to say, oh, black people are less educated, less qualified. That's not always the case. Even when you have those same credentials, you're going to be punished. So most of the time, we're overspending as African Americans because we're trying to buy our humanity. And one thing you've been doing very well is pushing President Obama to acknowledge that humanity. And once we acquire our humanity in ways where we're enjoying more of the fruits of our economic labor, then we'll stop overspending to acquire that humanity.
Well, one of the things I would argue is that as a community, we want to think it's okay to be a consumer. It's okay to enjoy your money. I don't like people that hoard money and just sit on it, and don't want to ever enjoy it. I think it's okay to enjoy money. It's okay to enjoy life. But I think that thinking like investors would certainly give you a greater ability to enjoy life, not just today, but for the rest of your life. And one of those investments, I think, would be education. I think that when you're talking about little children and what you're teaching your kids, and talking to them about, my question is, do you cheer as much for your child when they bring home an A on a test as you do if they score 40 points in the basketball game the week before? So and then also on top of that, when you talk about what you do after you graduate from high school, there's this thing called college and graduate school and all these other things that represent good investments that can give you skill sets that allow you to compete in the workforce as opposed to being stuck at the bottom of the barrel. Now, tell me about your life. What have you done up until the age of 28, and what's your journey been like as a businessman and just as a human being?
Well, I grew up in a loving family. My mother, Denise Rincons, and supplemented by my grandmother.
In Florida?
Yes, in Florida, in Miami,
Okay.
Florida. Supplemented by my grandmother, Marlita Rincons. My grandmother grew up in Miami. Her parents were immigrants from the Bahamas. She graduated high school and wanted to go to college. My great-grandfather, her father, had a job as a longshoreman. And they had like 8 kids, so he couldn't afford to send her to college. So she worked hard and went to community college, became a teacher. And her and my grandfather, who was born in Tallahassee, country boy with a hole in his leg, became a union laborer and eventually a foreman, and they committed together and as a team provided a middle class life for my mother and her brothers.
Okay.
And
now what I want you to do is I want you to fast forward. I want to know about you.
Well,
Not that your family's not important. I think that's important. So
thank you. But
we'll
their
establish that.
their conviction motivates me and encourages me today. But I went to high school in Miami. I went to college and started this radio show. And now
Where'd you go to college?
Florida A&M University.
Did you study business?
No, I went. I got my degree in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've got FAMU is a great school. And
Absolutely.
I know that their business school has always had a strong reputation. Yeah. Now it lost its reputation for a while there, though. Like I don't know what was going on down at FAMU, but they kind of lost a little swag for a minute. But that kind of swag you can't lose.
Yeah, but we've
overnight.
Always been on top of the University of Kentucky. And, staying on top of them.
Now that's where I went to college. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. You do have the University of Kentucky beat. I will certainly give FAMU that. But go ahead.
But I used to talk trash with a professor of mine, Keith Miles, and I used to talk trash. And he's like, "Oh, Rincons, you nothing but a Republican." I said, "I'm not a Republican. I'm just not stupid." And so we were talking trash about money and taxes and different things. And he's also the general manager of the radio program. So I emailed him one day about starting a show. And before he responded to my email, he said, "Rincons, I want you to do a show." And so that's what started with It's Payday. And so I started doing the show. And then one of my friends was like, "Zach, great show. You're a cute kid, but I wouldn't listen to you." So I started soliciting experts to get their opinions on various things that affect the African American community. And so that's what I've been doing. The show has won an Associated Press Award. And now I'm just seeking opportunities to create content and produce more content and syndicate the show.
So on your show, the primary focus is on economic empowerment, right?
Yes.
And issues like that. Okay.
But we also look at trends in business, career development, and education and things like that.
Really? Okay. Would you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
I'm incorporated. I own the show and seeking opportunities to syndicate it and produce different types of ancillary content.
So how do you make your money? What do you do? How do you make your living?
Through speaking engagements. I do have a day job. I'm developing Rincon's Media Ventures, but with the show, how I generate revenue is through sponsorships and speaking engagements and articles and different things like that. I've had the opportunity to be published in various publications.
Oh, okay, okay. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, well, I think what always impressed me is that I think that what your blog kind of delivers is this kind of information that is so critical to the community. I think that understanding entrepreneurship is very important, even for people who don't become full-time entrepreneurs. Like you look at what you do and what I do. We're similar in the sense that I'm not a full-time entrepreneur. I do have a day job. As you mentioned, you said you have a day job. And what happened, though, was that at first my day job financed my side ventures. And then eventually my side ventures were adding money to supplement my day job. And I still haven't quit my day job. I don't know if I ever will. I might at some point. We created the Institute for Black Public Policy, and I think that's going to be my permanent academic home. But at the same time, I think just understanding the concept of entrepreneurship is almost like having a garden in your backyard. Now, you might still go to the grocery store to get food, but you got the garden, which can give you extra food to supplement what you get from the grocery store.
Absolutely.
And then if there's a disaster and the grocery store shuts down, your garden can keep you alive. And so I think that supplemental income is certainly an important part of our survival, spiritually, psychologically, and otherwise within the Black community.
Absolutely. I definitely support that. Having multiple streams of income. We look at most of these entertainers today, they're not just singers, they're trying to appear in movies, television, they're doing reality shows, they're doing cameos, and those are providing other opportunities to develop streams of income. And so we have to develop more than one stream of income, because if we're solely dependent on one income, once that income stream disappears, we're out of luck.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have the savings, the emergency fund, and you don't have a plan for the future, you're in a terrible way. Definitely.
Well, one thing that I will say that supplements what you said when you use entertainers as an example in terms of getting supplemental streams of income, which I think is an important point. I mean, all of us can do the same thing. I think, in fact, I would just take an inventory of how many different places are you getting your money from. Sometimes how many sources of income you have can be as important as how much income you have.
Absolutely.
Right? A lot of times I'd rather have, a little bit of money coming from 5 different places than have a whole lot of money coming from one place, even if I get more money from that one place than I would from those 5 places individually.
Absolutely.
Because when one faucet shuts down, one financial faucet shuts down, if that's the only thing that you're getting to sustain you, then you're in trouble. If you got it coming from 5 places, and then one shuts down, you got 4 more until the 5th one gets fixed again.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, but going back to what you're talking about with entertainers, one thing that's interesting there is that with entertainers, you can really take that step further, where the best entertainers, the brightest entertainers, the most successful entertainers are the ones who've made that investment in education so that they can understand the business of entertainment. Right? You look at somebody like Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey makes $1 billion, or she makes $300 million a year. She's worth over $1 billion, not because she's the best talk show host in America. She's good, but there are probably other people that are almost as good or just as good. She makes that money because she's a great businesswoman.
Absolutely.
And you notice the acronym of her new network is what? OWN. Right? The Oprah Winfrey Network. That but it's own. She's saying, I own my own stuff. In closing, I'd like to ask you, if you were talking to somebody who's watching this and saying, I like that idea. I like the idea of kind of going on my own, or finding ways to make more money, or getting ahead financially, or having more financial security. What are maybe 2 or 3 steps that you think a person could take to kind of get started down their path to financial prosperity and security?
I think the most important step you can make is to have the emergency fund. I think that's more important than anything, because when life's emergencies come, you need to have a cushion for the pushing. You have to have that.
So establish the emergency fund. I got
first.
You. Okay.
And then second, you want to control your debt. You want to get to a point, because a lot of times we may have debt that's just the interest rates are just unreasonable, and unfortunately, debt doubles quicker than investments. And then after you get a control of your debt, maybe to a point where it's half or a quarter of your annual income, you get to a place where you could, start investing and taking advantage of investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and various things like that. And with so much technology out there, you have dollar cost averaging programs that allow you to buy stocks, bonds, and mutual funds for $50 to $75 a month. You can make small commitments that make a big difference. And also educate yourself. Subscribe to the Black Enterprise magazine. That's a beautiful magazine, my favorite magazine. Money Magazine. You can check out vvonmoney.com, itspayday.blog.com, and just get information to educate yourself on these various investments. So those are the things I would say.
Savings, debt, education.
Yep.
All right, let's get it started.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. It's wonderful having you.
Absolutely.
And it's the blog is itspayday.blog.com, and this is Zachary Rincon, a young financial expert who's going to do some great things. And as you know, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm a finance professor, but I love to listen to experts like Zach because they teach me a lot of things that I need to think about as well. And the point in all of this is to say that no matter what person you are, no matter how far you've come, no matter what lies in your past or even your present, the future ultimately belongs to you. So you've got to get up and grasp it and move forward with strength, and you'll find your way to prosperity. So until we meet again, check us out at blackvoices.com, yourblackworld.com. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Take care. God bless. Be educated. I'm gone. Peace.